All right, well, happy Valentine's Day. And we're glad you came this morning. We were going to do something special for Valentine's Day, and we decided just to put a backdrop outside so you can knock the icicles off your nose and go take a picture before you leave today. It's cold out there, but we're so glad you came out with to celebrate us at church with Valentine's Day on Valentine's Day. And I just noticed this. I went to go grab my TV, and I got a Valentine from my wife. Will you be my Valentine? Ain't that sweet? Thank you, Amy. Is she in the house? She's probably not. Oh, she's right back there. So we're going to put this right here. I'm going to keep that forever. So, yes, I will be your Valentine. That's the first thing I thought of. You're young. So she's happy about Valentine's Day, but we know for guys that's stressful time. Valentine's Day has a pretty cool history. I started doing some research on some of the events of the past, even in the 17 and 1600s, and where it all started and how it started. And I started doing some digging, and so I found this cool story, this cool element that they used to do. It was kind of like I don't know what you would call it, a ceremony, or I don't know what you would call it, but back in the day, and I'm pretty sure it was pagan, so I just want to throw that out there. But what they would do is they would take a dog and sacrifice it, and they would take a goat and sacrifice it. And so one was for purity, one was for fertility, and they would sacrifice the goat. And what they do is they would skin the goat. They would dip the goat skin in the blood of the goat, and then they'd go slap the women in the town with it. So I called a few petting zoos, and I was like, if people really knew the history of Valentine's Day and what it really meant, it has, if you go all the way back, it talks about priests and all that stuff, and not priests, but saints. There were like 3 or 4 Valentine saints. And so anyway, I just found some pretty cool stories. It has nothing to do with the message this morning, other than we might sacrifice a goat and start slapping some people with it. So I'm just be ready if that happens. You were warned. I was praying about this series. It's a fun series. We always enjoy it every year. And last year we did It's Complicated, and this year we're doing It's Still Complicated, because we still have relationship issues. We still have problems with money. We still have these situations in our life that we haven't quite gotten over yet. And so I was thinking about issue. God, what is the foundational problem? I was praying and said, God, what's the foundational issue in relationships? Because I really want to lay a foundation today to get set us for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And so as I was praying about it, it was just almost like, when God answers your prayer before you finish asking, it was almost like as soon as I prayed and asked, he spoke these 2 words to me. And to me, the foundation on what I think God was trying to get me to share with you today is trust issues. So today's message is trust issues. Now, trust is a pretty interesting thing. It's kind of weird in a way, if I'm honest, because somebody can trust you in one area but not in another. I'll give you an example. My wife trusts me with our financial future. I have been paying our bills for the last, when we got married, I paid them, then I traveled for work. She started doing it. But for the last 15 or 16 years, I've paid all the bills. I pay the mortgage. I make sure the energy doesn't get cut off. There's been a few times where you get home and you hit the garage button and you're like, it don't open. And you're like, oh, did I pay that bill or not? Anybody done that? You go hit a light switch, it don't come on. You're like, oh, man, did I pay the bill this time or did my check bounce? So, but in the grand scheme of things, I've paid the bills on time. Made sure every note was taken care of. And so she trusts me with our financial future, which is a big deal. That's a big deal. She's okay with me just taking care of everything. Now, she's in on the budget, and we talk about those things, but ultimately it's my responsibility. She trusts me with our financial future, but she won't leave her purse with me in Walmart. Anybody? Some of you ladies are like, yeah, I know why. We were in a grocery store. All right, let's just say we were in a grocery store a few weeks ago, and actually it's been a few months ago now. And she leaves the purse in the buggy with me, and she takes about 10 steps away to go get something else. And she looks back at me, and she looks at the purse, and she looks back at me, and she goes and grabs her purse, and she takes it with her. I'm like, what just happened? I don't know what in the world just happened. Like, why did she do that? So I asked her. She said, well, last time I left my purse with you. I left you right here, you and the purse and the buggy right here, and I went to go get something, and I came back, and it was just the purse and the buggy, and you were nowhere to be found. I had wandered off. I thought I saw bacon-flavored chips is what happened. But I did. I wandered down. I wasn't that far, but I was far enough away for her not to be comfortable with it. So now, just the other day, Friday, we were in the store. She was going to get something. I said, leave your purse with me. It'll be fine. She was like, no, I'm not leaving my purse with you. So she trusts me with our financial future, but she won't trust me with her purse. Now, I'm going to give you some things today about trust, and you're not going to like the first one. I'm just going to be honest with you. I didn't like it either. So what I did was I said, look, we're going to talk about trust. I'm going to find all kind of scriptures about trusting one another. We should trust in each other. We should lean on each other. We should really just have some faith in one another. And I dug, and I dug, and I dug. You know how many scriptures I found on trusting each other? One. And that was a husband and a wife. The Bible, there's almost no scriptures on us trusting one another. That was crazy to me. So I'm about to give you 3 points about trust. Now, I'm going to give you the first one, but I need you to stay with me, okay? Don't take this first one and get out of here and be like, oh, that dude's crazy. I can't go back to that church anymore. Because it's progressive. You got to see the whole thing. So I need you to stay with me. So repeat after me. I'm in till the end. One more time. I'm in till the end. All right, so y'all stick with me. Don't take this first one and run out of here and be like, oh, look, I got a new weapon in my repertoire. No. Stay with me because it's progressive. Here's the first thing that I learned in reading Scripture about trusting one another. Here's the first thing that I want to give you today, and that is people should not be trusted. Please don't use this as ammo to live the rest of your life this way. But I dug up Scripture. I looked deep as I could find. I mean, I dug everywhere. I went to Google, and I'm like, okay, there's got to be something. There's got to be some search engine that tells me that we're supposed to be trusting one another, and I just couldn't find that many. In fact, I found way more scriptures that the opposite. In fact, my first point was going to be don't trust each other, but this is much cleaner. People should not be trusted. Now, stay with me. I'm not done yet, all right? People should not be trusted. Why? Because we're not always trustworthy. Because people will let you down. Anybody, raise your hand if anybody's ever let you down. All right. The rest of y'all either too young to have had that happen or you're lying. I'm one of those two. Because if you're older than 15 years old, somebody, maybe a parent, maybe a grandma, grandpa, you didn't get the present you thought you was going to get. You didn't get the job somebody thought you was going to have when you were 20 years old. Life didn't turn out like you thought it was going to because somebody let you down in a situation. You've been let down. I've been let down. People should not be trusted. The Bible tells us that. Look at Psalms chapter 118, verse 8. It says it is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in people. So in other words, if you're going to put your trust somewhere, put it in Him. So it says better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in people. And then the next verse is very similar. It says better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes. In other words, don't even put a lot of faith in people who are above you, whether it's in government or even your boss maybe or some sort of system. It's better to trust in the Lord. He's not saying don't do it. He's just saying make sure your trust is in the right place. So this is very important that we get this morning, that people should not be trusted. Now, again, I want you to stay with me because we're going somewhere with it. Don't take this and run out of here and live the rest of your life without trusting people. Here's another verse for you. Many will say that they are loyal friends, but who can find one who is truly reliable? Talk is cheap. You ever had that person who's just like, oh, man, I'll be there at 2 o'clock. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be there to pick you up from the airport at 2 o'clock. And you had to catch an Uber because they were a goober. Right? They didn't put it in their phone. If you're like my wife, she's got an alarm for every stuff. I'm talking about everything. Her phone goes off at least twice an hour. I'm just be honest with you. It just does. But guess what? She don't forget stuff. She gets stuff done. Her phone reminds her to do stuff I forget about. So you've been let down. You've done that. You've let people down. Here's a news flash for you. You're not always trustworthy. Hello. See, I said people, and you're like, oh, yeah, Luke, Pete, Roy, Tim, Betty. I got a whole list of people that ain't trustworthy. Guess what? While you were making your list, you made theirs. I'm going to say that again. While you were making your list of untrustworthy people in your mind, you made their list because you let them down one time. Because we're people. It happens. Life happens, especially these days. You look down at your phone for 3 seconds, and you look up, it's been 47 minutes. Anybody? I got to the end of the internet one day. I couldn't believe it. Video after video after just, it starts real simple and sweet. And it's just like, I was looking up stuff last night on how to fry green beans. You ever had a fried green bean? You ever fried your own green beans? It's a whole nother level, babe. Only thing that made it better is frying it in bacon grease. That's the only thing that would have made it better. But guess what? You start with something simple like how to fry a green bean. The next thing you know, you're looking at a conspiracy on whether we did or did not land on the moon. It sucks you in. Y'all been there? It sucks you in. You get sucked into it, and the next thing you know, you've wasted half of your day. So I just want you to know, life happens, things happen. Something happened, you couldn't get there to pick somebody up. You couldn't be there. You couldn't help them pay the bill they thought that you were going to help them pay. Let me just ask you a question, though, this morning. Can you be trusted? See, I'm saying people shouldn't be trusted, but can you be trusted all the time, every time? You're going to come through every time? You're going to do everything you've ever said you were going to do? No. Listen, there's going to be a chance I'm going to let you down at some point. If I haven't yet, I'm probably going to. I mean, trying to, but I'm just saying it could happen. Your life group leader may let you down at some point. I just want you to know this morning that I love every one of you guys deeply. I really do. I love this church. I love every Dream Team member, every person that's gone through Growth Track, every person sitting in this room, every person that's ever sat in this room. I just love every one of y'all. But if I had to choose between you and my family, I'm going to choose my family. See, I love you, and I'm loyal to a fault, but you ain't number one in my life. Y'all feeling me on that? The same way with you. You love your job, but if they make you choose between your family and your job, you're probably going to choose your family. Well, I can't trust you. Well, that's on you. See, there are some things that are going on behind the scenes, and we don't realize what's going on, but you go back and read the Bible, and you'll see people in the Bible. David, who was a man after God's own heart, sent his good friend and best warrior out to die because he slept with his wife. Is he trustworthy? David? One of the greatest kings Israel ever saw, one of the greatest warriors they've ever saw. Is he trustworthy? He sent a dude to the front lines to die because he got his wife pregnant. Now, is that define him? No. Listen, Moses was a great leader of people. At some point, Moses said, God, kill me now. I can't deal with these people anymore. Listen, Joseph, who was one of the 12 tribes of Israel, well, the other tribes, the brothers, sold him into slavery and told his dad he was dead. They were going to kill him. Were they trustworthy? They're the tribes of Israel. I'm just telling you, at some point in your life, you're going to let somebody down, and somebody has let you down. People should not be trusted. There's a story in the Bible, and again, I'm going somewhere, so I know this is heavy, and it's cold outside, and this ain't starting out real great, but I'm going somewhere. There's a story of Abraham and Sarah. Abraham is going to another land, and so his wife, Sarah, is beautiful, and so he knows that if he goes somewhere, they're going to take her as his wife. They're going to take his wife away from him and kill him. And so he asks Sarah, he says, look, wherever we go, tell everybody that you're my sister and not my wife. So they show up at this area. King Abimelech takes Sarah because they said, hey, it's just my sister. They take her to be his wife. And so Abraham's like, well, she's my sister. Go ahead and take her. Hey, Abimelech has a dream that night. And God says, don't lay a hand on her. He's really his wife. She's really his wife. So Abimelech catches up with Abraham the next morning, and this is kind of the story. This is where we're getting to. I'm going to just show these verses right here. So he says, what in the world were you doing? Abimelech says, he asked Abraham, what was your reason for doing this? Why in the world did you lie to me about this? You said that she was your sister, but she's really your wife. And Abraham replied, this is what Abraham said. Abraham said, I said to myself. In other words, today's terms would be, I said, boo. Remember, just do you, boo. All right. I said to myself, we get into a lot of trouble right here. Because when we say something to ourselves, then we answer ourselves. If you ever talk to yourself, you're okay till you start saying, huh, all right? Boo jacked up, y'all. Abraham said, I said to myself. Well, there's your first mistake. I said to myself, so here's what he said. He said, I said to myself, there surely is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. So he's already setting the tone for, I ain't trusting in God, I'm trusting in my situation. Let me see if I can figure it out. Anybody ever try to figure out your own situation and it made it worse? I've done it. It just seemed like the right thing to do. I said to myself, I think I should do this. I want you to know today that God's got a plan for your life, and if you just put your trust in him, he'll show you what it is. So he says, I said to myself, there's surely no fear of God in this place. But if you go back and read the story, you'll see Abimelech had a dream because of the fear of God, and it saved her life and his. And then he continues with this thought. This is Abraham. He said, besides, she really is my sister. It's complicated. All right? It's still complicated. This is a complicated situation. He married his sister. She's the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, so she was a half-sister, and she became my wife. Now, was he lying here? He wasn't lying. She really was a sister. But you can't trust somebody that only gives you half the truth. So half the truth was she really is my sister, but she was also his wife. And then Abraham says this. He starts blaming people about it. He says, when God made me wonder, it's God's fault now because he sent me over here. God made me wander from my father's household. I said to her, this is how you can show your love for me. Happy Valentine's Day. This is how you can show your love to me. Tell everybody that's really my brother. Now, that is romantic right there. Ain't nothing like romantic like me telling Amy, hey, wherever we go somewhere, just talk about you're my sister. We're holding hands and smooching. Hey, you don't get to 23 years without doing some hand holding in public, guys, all right? Hold your woman's hand in public, all right? You got to slow down to do that, or you got to make her slow down. Listen, Abraham was the father of faith. He was the father of faith, and he lies to the king and says, hey, she's my sister, not my wife. I'm telling you, people should not be trusted. Here's the second thing, all right? We're getting somewhere now. Here's the second thing. People can be trusted. They probably shouldn't be all the time, but they can be, all right? People can be trusted. You can trust people with the situations. Listen, we couldn't have life group if there wasn't for trust. Now, can you trust everybody all the time 100%? That's what you call naive. You can't trust everybody with everything all the time. But you can have some trust. People can be trusted. They shouldn't always be 100%, but they can be. Here's what the Bible says about a good wife. This is the only verse I could find that tells us that we should trust one another. Look at this. It says, a wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. A woman of noble character who can this is how rare a trustworthy person is. So she's as rare as rubies. He says she's worth far more than rubies. Her husband can trust her. But he just said how valuable that is because she's like rubies, and it's very rare to even find somebody like that. He said you can trust her. She will greatly enrich his life, and here's what will happen. She will actually bring good and not harm all the days of her life, of his life. We can trust people. People can be trusted. There are people at your job you can't trust. People in your house you can't trust. You can trust your life group. Now, should you go around trusting everybody? No. The Bible's very clear. There's several other scriptures in Jeremiah that I didn't even show you that said don't even trust your neighbor. But there was some crazy stuff going on that time. But he said don't even trust your neighbor because they might sneak over and try to steal some stuff. So people, they can be trusted. They shouldn't always be trusted, but they can be trusted. Here's what Proverbs 18 says. There are friends. This is the first time I've ever highlighted quotation marks. Friends. There are friends who destroy each other. Is that really a friend? No, that's an air quote friend. All right. Anybody got any Facebook friends? You have no clue what their last name really even is, or what their maiden name is, or what their kids. You don't know anything about them, but we're Facebook friends. You have that friend at work. So there's air quotes here. You can use this if you'd like to, but there's air quotes here for a reason because he's not really a friend, but because he said they destroy each other, that's not a friend. They can't be trusted. But a real friend sticks closer than a brother. So there are friends who you think you can trust, but you can't trust everybody all the time. But people can be trusted. I know I'm double talking here. But I want you to know today that there are trust issues between husbands and wives and brothers and sisters and church members because you've lost trust. Now, what we used to tell our kids is we'll give you, we didn't call it a rope of trust, but I wish we would have, a rope of trust. All right, and the more you give me reason to trust you, the more rope you get. And when I have reason not to trust you, the rope gets shorter. Anybody, y'all know what I'm talking about as parents. That's how it works. So if you give me a reason to trust you, there was no curfew for my kids when they turned about 16 or 17 years old. I didn't have to have one. They stayed in the house most of the time. If you never leave the house, you don't have to have a curfew. But we gave them a rope of trust. And when you gave them a reason not to trust you, there's a reason my wife won't let me watch her purse in Walmart right now. Now, If she gives me 3 more chances and I don't blow it, we'll see what happens. But deep down, I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? By the way, ladies, we don't go to the store to grocery shop because we like it. We go because you either make us do it or not make it. You ask us very strongly, are you, something I've learned in my, I probably shouldn't share all this on Valentine's Day, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. And my wife doesn't do this. I'm just saying I've seen it happen. When ladies, you ask a question with a statement, you're not doing that in the morning, are you? Right, y'all, guys, write this down, okay? When they make a statement, but it's really supposed to be a question, you're not doing that in the morning, are you? Is that a question or a statement? Because it sounds like you're saying I shouldn't be doing it. But listen, we go to Walmart, we go to a grocery store with you guys for 3 reasons. First of all, because we feel like we're supposed to be there because it's our duty at some point to actually go help you pick out groceries. The second thing that we go for, that I go for, is to make sure some sort of name brand something gets in the buggy. Because, ladies, y'all will great value us to death. There's nothing wrong with great value. Most of the time it's good. But there's certain laundry detergent that I like. Now, she snuck one in on me one time, and then I should have saw it coming because she was like, hey, how you like how's those smell? I'm like, they smell good. She switched them out. She didn't tell me. Can't be trusted. No, I'm picking. Yeah, we were eating spaghetti one time, and she was like watching me eat, and she was like, well, what you think? And I was like, you're pretty excited about me liking this spaghetti. Something's up. It was ground turkey. I couldn't tell a difference. It hadn't been in my house again since, but that's because once you know, right? Once you know, you know. So there's 3 reasons we go to the grocery store, because you want us there. Secondly, to get some name brand stuff in the buggy. And thirdly, just to get the snacks that we like, because sometimes they're more expensive. And now that we shop online, it's like, how much is that bag of sunflower seeds? How much is that beef jerky? How much? We don't even buy beef jerky anymore. That stuff is expensive. But if you're going to have that time when that thing you couldn't do before, that trust issue with the person, the buggy, whatever, you got to give them reason to do it. You got to give them reason to trust you. Here's a third thing. People can be trusted. Here's number 3. People must be trusted. Can you imagine a life where we don't trust anybody? People must be trusted. Can you imagine getting on a plane and you don't really trust the pilot, that he has the ability to fly the plane to wherever you're going? That's a long flight right there. If you really can't trust the chef that's cooking your food at the restaurant you went to, you can't even enjoy that meal. You have to be able to trust the school system. You got to be able to trust the teachers. You got to be able to trust church leaders. You got to be able to trust life group members. You got to be able to trust politics. Wait, I went too far. There are some people you just can't trust, all right? Ever, all right? I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. They just, a politic is, poly is many, tick is a bloodsucker, okay? So it's many bloodsuckers. That's the actual definition of a politician. So there are a group of people that you should probably just don't even trust them, all right? Or just pray about it before you trust them. But there are people people must be trusted. We have to live a life where we can actually trust people, because we'll never go anywhere or do anything or tell anybody anything. The Bible says when you confess your sins one to another, you're healed. So you got to be able to trust somebody for that to happen. And we have trust in Life Group. Are y'all loving Life Group right now, man? Life Group is, we are having a great time. And we're doing Financial Peace University, and we're having fun anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're actually still having fun, even though we're doing financial stuff. It's been a lot of fun. But we sitting there, we trust one another. People open up and they share things. And so people must be trusted. So if you're going to trust people, I'm going to give you 3 ways to do that. Here's number 1. If you're going to trust people, you got to first trust God. Trust God wholeheartedly. You got to put all your trust in him. In fact, let me say it like this. Trust in people who trust in God. Trust God wholeheartedly. Listen, Sarah trusted God. Her husband just told her, look, I want you to lie to everybody that I'm your sister and not your wife. You know what she did? She submitted to him as her authority. She submitted to him, but she trusted God. See, watch this little stepping stone. Abimelech trusted Abraham that he really was his sister. He wasn't. And God spoke to Abimelech and said, look, if you touch her, it's going to be bad. So Abimelech trusted Abraham. Abraham trusted Sarah that she wouldn't rat him out while she was in the palace, because the king took her and he wasn't in the palace. So Abimelech trusted Abraham. Abraham trusted Sarah. Sarah trusted God. And guess what? Sarah was A-okay. Sarah turned out to be okay. She was safe. So we got to trust in God wholeheartedly. Here's what the Bible tells us about trust. Proverbs 3:5, and then read 6 if you want to. I'm not going to show you 6 today. But trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Listen, trust in the Lord wholeheartedly. There might be a situation you're going through that looks like betrayal, but God's got something else brewing on the side. Listen, I've had some situations, some friendships that I thought was on the rocks, and God used that situation somehow to bring him glory and brought us even closer together. You don't understand. You can't see everything. You ever lost a job and you're like, oh, it's the end of the world, only to find a better job with better pay and better hours? I've seen that happen here with many of you guys. See, we see the situation and we're saying, oh, I thought you had me, God, I lost my job. Well, there's another job around the corner. See, God's working when you can't even see it. That's why we trust him with all of our heart. The psalmist says this: those who know that your name trust in you, for you, O Lord, do not abandon those who search for you. See, we have good reason to trust in the Lord. So if you're going to trust people, you got to trust in God first. He says, if you trust in him, he will not abandon you. Psalm 62:8 says this: O my people, trust in him all times, at all times. You know when that is? All the time. All the time, 24/7. Trust in him at all times. You know what all times means? It means when you're going through a sickness, trust in him. When you got issue at work, trust in him. When you got issue with your relationships, trust in him. When you got issue with your finances, trust in him. When somebody's after you like monkey on a cupcake, I don't know. Trust in him. Trust in him. Pour out your heart to him, for God is our refuge. The psalmist says this: if you're gonna make a statement, declare this. He said, declare this about the Lord: he alone is my refuge, my place of safety. He is my God, and I trust him. He alone. Now, can you trust other people? Yeah, but put all your trust in him, and then he'll lead you to those that you can trust. That's a good one right there. Here's Psalms 37:3. It says this: trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. Well, how do you cultivate faithfulness? Be trustworthy. Show up when you say you're going to show up. In fact, the New Testament talks about, hey, when you don't even swear, why don't you swear? You don't swear by your name. Why? Because when you say I'll be there, you be there. When you say you're gonna come through in that situation financially, then you come through in that situation financially. If you're gonna be there for that friend when they need you, then you be there. You don't have to swear. I promise you. Anybody have that? I promise you. I swear on my great grandmother's grave. If you got to go through all that, you ain't very trustworthy. If it takes you making 17 declarations about people who've been dead for 30 years to say, I'm really going to be there, I'm betting you probably ain't going to be there. See, people who are trustworthy, they just say, look, I'll be there too. See you then. That $20 that I was supposed to pay you back last week, I got it. Come get it. It's here. I'm going to be over there to pray with you, to pray for you. Here's one for you. I'll be at church this weekend. I see you at Life Group. You don't have to swear up and down, I promise I'm coming. I promise this time I'm coming. If you have to promise 17 times, I ain't looking for you. And I've had those. Look, you know those people. I know those people. I've had those people come up to me, even in the breezeway. First time here. Oh, this is our church. I can't wait to get back here next Sunday. We should have Sunday night services. I'll be here tonight at 6 o'clock, even if nobody else shows up. I got my checkbook out right now. I'm gonna write it. Who do I write it out to? I'm all in. I ain't seen them since. When all that's coming out, you know the ones that are most faithful, the ones that never tell you they're coming. They just hear. And I ain't picking on anybody today. All I'm saying is, when somebody has to swear up and down, oh, I'm coming, they probably ain't coming. So what I'm telling you is, God's saying, look, don't swear up and down, left and right. You come, just say your yes be yes and your no be no. It's that simple. So you got to trust in God completely. Here's number 2. You got to wholeheartedly. You got to forgive completely. If you're going to trust in people, there's got to be forgiveness that goes along with it, because there's going to be some things that happen. The Bible tells us in Ephesians 4, it says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ forgave you. Here's another one for you, Colossians 3. Bear with each other and forgive one another, because that person that didn't show up at 2 those 17 times, they might show up one day. Bear with them. Don't throw them out the pasture. Don't just be like, oh, I'm writing you off. No, bear up with them. Like hang in there. They're going to make it. Like pray for them and stick it out with them. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive again as the Lord has forgiven you. Trust God wholeheartedly. Forgive completely. Here's number 3. If you really want to start trusting people more and build that trust back like you need to have those relationships. Look, I'm building a foundation here because the rest of what we're going to be talking about is going to be going deeper into our relationships and financial situations, things like that. But I want you to know, if you don't trust people, you can't have a relationship. Y'all with me on that? If you don't trust people, that's the foundation. Now, are they going to break it? Yeah, but you forgive completely. And here's number 3. Trust God wholeheartedly. Forgive completely. Here's number 3. You got to love deeply. If you want to have people around you that you can really trust, and yes, they're going to let you down. And yes, they're not going to show up when you thought they were. And yes, that thing they were going to do financially to help you out didn't come through. And yes, you thought that they were going to be able to help you out in other situations and they were going to be there for you and they just weren't there for you. Or maybe you're going through a downtime and you thought they were going to come check on you and they didn't. Although if you love them deeply, some pretty cool stuff happens. Here's what the Bible tells us about loving deeply. It says, above all, love each other deeply because love covers a multitude of sins. When people abandon you and don't show up, that's a sin. Like that's a lie, right? They said they were coming, they didn't come, that's a sin. Well, love covers that up. Love covers a multitude of sins. I want you to get that this morning. Trust God wholeheartedly. Forgive completely, like really forgive. One of our small groups are going through a series right now called Forgive What You Can't Forget. That's pretty good. I need to do a whole series on that. Forgive what you can't forget. Don't focus on it all the time. Let God heal that situation. But he says love is going to cover a multitude of sins. And here's the last thought I want to give you this morning. The last idea about trust. The last idea about making your friendships even stronger than they were. Our non-friendships become friendships. And that is strong relationships make room for redemption. Real relationships, strong relationships that are going to really thrive, make room for redemption. When that person didn't show up when you thought they were, that's all right. Give them another chance. Now, you might have another ride ready just in case. Give them another chance. Strong relationships make room for redemption. Listen, forgiveness brings restoration. And when you forgive like God tells us to, it's going to restore, but you got to make some room for redemption. You got to give them a chance. Give them a chance. You know how many chances God gave you? And he says forgive like Christ forgave you. That's every day, all day. 70 times 7, 490 times a day you're supposed to forgive a single person. That's where trust comes in. Okay, look, you messed up. Yes, you didn't show up. I forgive you. We'll get it better next time. I got an Uber coming at 2:15 just in case, but we're gonna just see what happens. Strong relationships make room for redemption. That somebody's going to let you down. I might let you down. Your life group leader might let you down. Your parents or your kids might let you down. But guess what? If you'll put your trust wholeheartedly in God and forgive completely and love deeply, you'll build that foundation of trust again. You'll build it back up, and God will start building on that foundation, and you'll see incredible stuff happen in your relationships.